Hi, I'm Ellen Dickson, and I'm here with another broadcast of the Mayor's Show. I thought it would be interesting to do a show with our three newest council members. These are all men in the peak of their lives. They all have full-time jobs, full-time careers, and 3 to 4 children at home. And I think it's a message to all of us that maybe we should take our contributions to society more seriously, because these men have taken away a lot of time from their families to serve on council. With me today is Gregory Drummond. He was just elected at large, means he covers the entire city of Summit. He has a 2-year term. We have Dr. Rubino.
Mayor.
He is elected in Ward 1, and he has a 3-year term. And we have Mr. Pat Hurley. He is in Ward 2 with a 3-year term. Maybe we'll start with Greg, since the most timely topic we have in town is the redoing of the 3 surface lots in downtown Summit. Greg, as a member of General Services, would you like to talk about how the lots are coming along and what the plans are for parking?
Sure. Thanks to the help of fellow council people and the Department of Community Works and the professional staff in City Hall, we are redoing the 3 lots on DeForest Avenue. For those of you who have driven by there lately, you'll see the lot at Summit Avenue in DeForest has been repaved, reconfigured, and restriped. We've taken some of the old shrubbery and trees down, and we're going to plant more trees there than we're taking down. The spaces are made larger, we're accommodating handicap parking, and we're also making it safer for pedestrians. Presently, they are working on the center lot where the farmers market normally was held. This past week it was held downtown with a great turnout, and they're probably halfway through construction of the middle lot. When that's completed, it will be resurfaced and restriped, and they're going to go to the big lot on Woodland in DeForest and conclude there. Hopefully in early September, all the lots will be done, and we're going to have a gated system where there'll be a pay-per-hour system where you can come to Summit without having the fear of ever getting a ticket. And you can spend as much time, up to 7 hours, in all the lots. The lots will be free after 6 p.m. for all restaurant goers. And we're going to have an ambassador there walking the 3 lots, helping make sure the gates function properly, and also telling people where they can shop and where the restaurants are and where the good spots to come to our downtown is. So when people come back from their vacation this summer, I hope they feel that we've made some work over the summer progress with our 3 new parking lots on DeForest Avenue.
Well, congratulations, Greg. You really jumped right in there. I know I spent 6 years on that committee, and we kept trying to move in that direction, but we never quite got it done. But and it's all being done by city employees too.
Correct.
It's our DPW workers are doing the work. So.
And the engineers did the plans.
Right.
The only thing that's outsourced is striping. We're trying to make them look crisp and clean and safe, and we're having professional people come in to do the striping. But other than that, it's all Summit employees.
Well, thank you, Greg. And Pat, you're with security at Goldman Sachs, and natural for you was to be on the safety committee, and I serve with you on the safety committee. What is your feelings about that experience?
Well, it's been a great experience for me. It's really quite an honor to serve, working with the leadership of the police and fire department, but also getting to know a lot of the rank and file members of both police and fire. And for me, being able to leverage a lot of my professional experience over the years in that job, I think ultimately aimed at supporting a great group in keeping the people of Summit safe as it is now, and making them safer going forward. So it's for me, it's been quite an honor. I think the challenging, I think the most challenging piece of it for me is that we've had some promotions within the police department at the senior levels and within the fire department. So normally you have 3 or 4 really good candidates in front of you, and you have to pick one. And that's been tough because we have great leadership in both the police and the fire department, but we've been able to promote people, and on the back end of that, we've been able to hire some, because of the promotion and the upward mobility in the positions opening up, we've been able to hire 2 new great patrolmen, which has worked out well, and it looks like we're going to have the opportunity to hire a few more patrolmen coming. And the nice thing is the priorities have shifted in the police department to support the efforts of the downtown community and support some of the concerns of the residents. And Chief Weck has patrolmen actually out on foot patrolling the downtown. We also have the new Segway, which was deployed for the first time ever at the July 4th celebration. I think,
Can we please remind everybody that was bought with private funds? It was donated to the department. I've already heard what is wrong with Summit. We have to have a Segway downtown, but it's a valuable tool, and it was a donation.
Private funds, you're right. It was a donation. It was a well-used donation. And I think on on the fire side, it's been good too, because I've really gotten insight into all the progress that department's made in the last several years, leveraging a lot of the national assets that are available to them. We send firemen basically free, with maybe $100 per diem money, but free courses sponsored down in Maryland, some in Arizona, where they're really able to exchange best practices with other fire departments and learn from not just what happens around here, but all the disasters nationwide. So I think they're very, very well prepared and ready for anything that could hit us here in town.
Well, and how about the neighborhood block watch? That's something I think we need to really start working on. I know we are very close to 24 and 78. There have been some burglaries. I think we just have to start paying more attention.
Yeah, I think the Neighborhood Watch is a great program, which is just being implemented now. It does a couple things. It does put more eyes out there on the street so that residents feel empowered, that they can reach out to the police if they do see anything that's perhaps suspicious, and that's a very important part of any public safety program. And the other part of it is it gets the police even more integrated and more familiar with the community, and the community more familiar with the police department, which I think in Summit is a great luxury that we have that perhaps we haven't leveraged as much as we could have in past years, and we've definitely been doing that in the last couple of years, especially with the new leadership in the police department.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Now, Rob, you are chair of Public Works, is that correct?
That's correct.
A nitty-gritty department that we tend to have a lot of ordinances in Public Works. What has your impression of that department been so far, and what have you been working on?
Well, as all of us have probably noticed going through town, there's been a lot of projects ongoing. Most recently, the Kent Place Boulevard repavement and work on the curbs as well, over on Euclid, and some of the culvert down on Prospect Street and Division. So there's a lot going on. Some of it's county work that we're assisting in, some of it's all our staff. I took a tour, which was a great tour, down at the Public Works Center over on Chatham Road. And Paul Cascase gave me a very good insight into how everything works. And it really is fascinating. I'm sure there's a TV show you can make out of how it all works. And I think Paul does an excellent job of running that entire operation. And he's open to a lot of good ideas. We looked at the possibility of what it would take to convert some of the vehicles to compressed natural gas, or convert the whole fleet. So that's an idea that I think is time may not have come yet, but we're investigating it, and he was open to the idea, but I think that needs to percolate a little more. Just very responsive, I think, in general. When there's an issue or a problem recently through Councilman Drummond, an issue came in about just maintenance of some of the public bathrooms. So immediately I called Beth Kinney, and she talked to Paul, and next thing we know, a problem is attended to. So they're quite responsive. And I've been doing my best to get out the message to residents about the speaktogov.org, that little bit on the website, which really is helpful. So for any of our citizens out there, if they see a problem, a public works issue or something that's broken and needs mending, they simply can take a picture with their cell phone and email it right from their phone right to the City of Summit, and it'll get properly triaged, if you will, to the correct department. And I think that's been working well so far.
Another obligation of council members is to serve on as liaisons to different committees. And I know you've been recently appointed to the planning board. I put myself in the mayor's role on the planning board. And you have your first meeting tonight, is that correct?
Yes.
So I guess I can't really quiz you too much about the planning board yet, but how about some of the other committees you've been the liaison for?
The Board of Education, I go to their meetings, and I'm also, for the first time, we brought the private schools in.
Oh, good.
And we've had one meeting. I'd like to have a meeting in the fall with them to try to get them part of our community. A lot of Summit residents send their children there. I want to make sure that they feel that they're as much as the community as the Summit High School football team. So it's been a very educational and fun experience.
Well,
And I'm amazed by the dedication of the staff at City Hall, the hours they put in. I'm very impressed by all the professionalism there.
well, Kathy Fernandez retired, so we have a new head of communications for the Board of Ed, and we'll be looking forward to meeting her. But there's a lot going on at the Board of Ed, too. I think they're in the throes of finding some modular classrooms for Franklin School, and they're about to start a second demographic study So we'll really be able to plan a little better for the next 5 years to see what our population growth will be, if you can actually predict that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Pat, how about you? Which committees are you liaison to?
Well, yeah, primarily I cover I'm liaison to the Summit Volunteer First Aid Squad, which kind of complements my work with the Public Safety Committee. We've been working to kind of bring them in closer to make sure they're involved in all our coordination, all our emergency planning, emergency response. It's been very well coordinated over the years. I think it's what I like to do is maybe make it a little bit better, but also maintain the ties that are currently there. And there's been some challenges with the changes at the dispatch company at Overlook, and they've worked through those. It hasn't been easy, but the first aid squad and the fire department and the police working closely together with some very manual procedures to make sure that they don't miss a beat in their response to our resident needs. Also, the housing authority, where I was on the housing authority for several years. I was chairman of that, working with some of them, and in some cases, the residents do remember me, and they've approached me and some of the concerns that they've had. I've communicated those to the Housing Authority, who has been very, very receptive to those, and I think hopefully they were, I like to think it was a testament to my work a while back when in dealing with the residents. And also the Environmental Commission. I'm a liaison to that, and I think for them, I've tried to be a voice on council for some of their concerns that they've had that they've wanted escalated and expressed in public, because it's hard, because as Greg pointed out, a lot of residents are very, very dedicated and very involved. However, most people are working full-time jobs and have families, and they can't always attend both their committee meetings as well as coming to the council meetings. So if I can help them out and help them communicate and be liaison for that, I'm happy to do that.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the First Aid Squad has their 50th anniversary coming up
They do.
Very shortly, and we'll be trying to show up at that event this weekend.
It's a great organization that I know is getting ready to start a formal fundraising effort, or has started a formal fundraising effort for a new headquarters building too.
Right. Okay, Rob, what do you
I'm a liaison to the library board, to recycling board, and to the Board of Health. And I think the most active has been this year is the library board. And basically I sit in, try to say very little, and offer any commentary or reports that they need from council. And so this year they had their budgetary issues where their budgetary grant went up as per the state formula, but it wasn't enough to the point where they feel they can provide all the services they could under their current financial constraints. But they're doing well.
I would just say the library, remind people, council doesn't control their budget. It's part of it's the millage on our tax receivables. And I think their budget will probably go up next year because property values have been going up slightly. Even last year's budget was up slightly. So I was curious, I don't know if you've read this, but the university, there's a new medical school in New Jersey, in Camden. And they won't have books. It'll all be online on the internet. So I think that's a real challenge for the library to figure out what the library will look like going forward. So,
well, I think the staff there is very professional, and they can adapt like most institutions. I mean, we live in a dynamic society. So whatever the challenges are, I think the charge to them is to react and adapt. So I think they'll do just fine with that. It is a beautiful library, and it's well utilized. The recycling board, they just met last week. Nothing major going on there, but we did appoint a new student member our last council session. So I think that's an active committee. Just notice on the parking lots that are just resurfaced, have wonderful recycling bins in the corner, very well appointed, clearly marked. So I think that'll help. Just I think some of us notice if there's an overflow in the garbage cans, now it's pretty clearly demarcated newspaper, bottles and cans and things like that. So I think it'll help with beautifying or keeping downtown clean.
And you used to be chair of the Board of Health, correct?
That's correct.
And now you're the liaison.
That's correct.
Can you tell people a little bit about the Board of Health, who's on it, and what they do?
Sure. The Board of Health is chaired by Dr. Elizabeth Fagan. It's an autonomous board. You know, they have their own budget and they can make ordinances. And you know, basically, it's there to help protect the food chain. You know, a lot of issues may come up with farmer's market to make sure foods that are out there are kept at proper temperatures and inspected.
They inspect the restaurants also.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a wonderful setup now, a shared services, kind of a model shared services agreement with Westfield's Board of Health professional. We subcontract from them for our health officer services, and it works out quite nicely, and we may share different professionals among the neighboring towns Board of Health for inspections and things of that sort. So it's worked out to our benefit, I think, over the years. So they do an excellent job over at the Board of Health.
Greg, I have to ask, is serving on council what you expected? What has surprised you about serving on council?
Working with government takes a lot of time, and you try to get things done next week, and it pushes out 3 or 4 months, and it needs to be discussed and brought before council. So there's some frustration with the time that things are to be implemented, but when we're in a crunch like our parking area where we're trying to get it done by September, the men and women of City Hall have really come up and worked hard and late hours to push it forward to hopefully get it done soon. And Mayor, if I could ask you the difference from council as now being mayor.
Oh, you're going to turn the tables. I've had a little bit of a hard time weaning myself from the nitty-gritty of being on council, and certainly a lot more ceremonial. As I was saying earlier, I did 3 weddings over the weekend. I do a lot more speeches. Tomorrow night on the Green is the community night. So it's been a very, very positive experience, and I guess the thing that surprised me the most is how almost nice people are to the mayor. They really respect the office of mayor, and they expect a lot from it. So I work hard to try to meet those expectations. But it's been a very nice transition for me, anyway.
And I see the lights on in the mayor's office many more times than before.
Well, I do like to use the office. You're right, and part of the reason it keeps my plant alive too. That's part of the reason I'm not always there if that one light is on. It keeps my plant alive. But Pat, how about you? What is it? What you expected?
People have been nice to me too, so it's good. Yeah, I have to say, I always tell people, and a lot of people have asked me that question. I do enjoy it more than I thought I would. It's not that I didn't think I would enjoy it, but it's been a lot more satisfying very early on than I thought it would be initially. I think most of us came up to speed very quickly.
That's exactly right. You all came up to speed you hit the ground running, all 3 of you. I have to say that.
And it's been good working with Greg and Rob and everyone else on council. I think we don't always agree on everything, but it's been a very good, collegial, respectful, and it's been actually fun. And I think the meetings have been fun, and I've enjoyed it. I think one of the challenges is the issue of transparency, though. It's tough when you look at government accounting and the way government works, and you're familiar with the corporate world. There's just, and it's not that anyone's doing anything intentionally to prevent transparency, but it's not as transparent as I'd like it to be, and I think we're getting there. I mean, City Hall's been very, very responsive in producing some of the reports we've asked for, and the next step is getting residents more involved, because a lot of times we'll pass an ordinance, there won't be anybody there to talk about it, and then somebody will find out about it 2 weeks later, and they'll call you up and they say, hey, what are you guys doing? So I like it, and that's tough too, because everyone's working so much, working in the city or working around, working 12, 14-hour days, they have kids. And they expect us to represent them, but we also need their support on these things. So I've tried different things. I've posted the council agendas on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and different things, just to try to get more and more people involved so that they feel like their voice is heard at these council meetings.
Well, I can say even 7 or 8 years ago, you had the Summit Herald. Everybody read the Summit Independent Press. We all had the same forum, and now the Independent Press is probably covering 12 towns in the same issue. The Patch is there for some articles, but sometimes not. The Alternative Press does a good job, but I'm not sure how into the public that is. So it is very difficult getting the message out.
And it's interesting, because what I've noticed, and it came a little bit during the campaign too, is that people are still very reliant on printed news. So in any printed news that comes out of town, the Independent Press normally has things up online fairly quickly, but the paper will come out, and it's sometimes 2 weeks behind what we were doing. Then people will read it, and my response is, did you see it online the day after the council meeting? So people are still very reliant on printed news, and we just need to, surprisingly, but we just need to make sure we're getting the message to them, because again, we're not so big that we can't have everyone involved and everyone's voice is heard if need be.
Well, we should be looking at the Summit, City of Summit website. I know I'm on Facebook and Twitter, and I have my own website, which I have linked to the City of Summit. But if I see any article about the City of Summit that's positive and newsworthy, I try to put it on. So I think we're going to have to go more and more online to find out our information. Rob, how about you? What has surprised you about being on council?
No great surprises. I think it's been a fantastic experience so far. I really enjoy it. I think some of the things that I would like to see more of is an ability to handle the information in a quick and timely manner. I think at least on my professional side, every month I get kind of a balanced scorecard of indicators and things that are going on, key things I need to know about. And I haven't been able to crack that nut yet. I get my council packet and I read through it as quickly as possible, but I think it's going to take some time, probably another 3 or 4 months, for me to be able to get the key indicators that I would like to see, to be able to handle the flow of information a lot more quickly. Just reading all the technical legal language slows you down a little bit, but it really has been a wonderful experience. I interact with so many residents. It's sometimes a little harder to get through Starbucks now. People pull you alongside, but sometimes those are the most meaningful moments where you find out about something or educated about something. So while it's a exciting experience, it's also informative. And every time somebody pulls me aside, of course, there's a quid pro quo in that, all right, well, maybe you want to sign up to the City of Summit volunteer on the website. So in that, getting people involved is something that I'm always mindful of. So I really have enjoyed the dynamic and the exchange of ideas with citizens.
Right.
There's a lot of smart people in town, and they have a lot of great ideas.
Right. People are very respectful of your time. I find that.
Yeah.
And usually if they have a complaint, it's legitimate. And you look into it and you think, ooh, wow, I didn't see that. Or, ooh.
I think the informal interaction has been good, as Rob pointed out, whether it's Starbucks or I think most of the feedback I get from council tends to be at my son's lacrosse tournaments. When you're with several Summit mothers and fathers for basically an entire weekend or entire day from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. at a hot lacrosse tournament for the Futures program or something. You get a lot of feedback usually after about 10 a.m. when everyone gets woken up and they're, so it's a great thing for me to take that feedback back to council and to whoever needs to get it. It's been, the informal feedback is extremely important. It's something that I think we all enjoy.
I think we really need to focus on what we hope to accomplish while we're on council, because time slips by. We've all been in our roles now over 6 months. And is there something you're focusing on, Greg, that you'd really like to accomplish? And your term is short, and we hope you run again. But is there 1 or 2 things that you really like to focus on?
Possibly the Department of Community Services. They're doing a great job, but I'd like to try to computerize some of the system there for permitting and such, so people can have a sense of how long a permit has been in which stage, and how we can help that process move faster for both the city people and the applicants, because some of the applicants, that their whole life is rested upon this new garage, and when it gets hung up they take it personally and emotionally, and if there's a way we could buffer that and work together to make that process a little bit easier, I think that would be great for our community.
Right, and for the people who are opening up businesses in town also.
Correct.
I think it's been getting better every year, but I do think we have a little bit further to go on that.
Agreed.
Pat.
I've got a little bit longer term than Greg, but I will endorse him for a second term already.
Thank you, Councilman.
For me, I think we're, now that we have been on council for 6 months, I'm starting to look at more strategic things. And one of the things from a safety perspective, there is a perception that pedestrians are unsafe in Summit, and statistically there are some issues. I don't know if we're any less safe than the other municipality, but residents have concerns. I have concerns. My kids are off walking around either downtown, or my son's off riding his bike. You always have those concerns. So I want to make sure we're doing as much as we can to address those. In fact, the other day, looking at a strategic issue, I sat down with Police Chief Weck and discussed the possibility of resurrecting Walter Long's idea of a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. Although I guess I should brief you on this too, of all across Summit, and not look for reasons why we can't do it, but look for reasons why we can do it. And I think that's, as we all know, as residents, that perhaps ran for this office to hopefully change things are now sitting in this office, that we get a tremendous amount of pushback from the county, the state, or this rule or that rule, and we're always told a million reasons why we can't do something. I'm hoping that we can start looking for reasons why we can do something, and bring those to, at least from my perspective, to the public safety realm here in the city.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Sometimes I keep hearing from the police that we're our own worst enemies. Often when they stop somebody for speeding, it is someone that's a Summit resident, and we all have to slow down. How about you, Rob?
Well, I guess I have some near-term and maybe some longer-term goals, and probably some goals I really haven't crystallized yet, just because I'll be on different committees throughout my tenure. Mm-hmm. I think near-term, I really want to see that corner where the Summit Sampler is. Right. I really would like to see an interesting store go in there, kind of an anchor store, maybe an Apple, or there's even Microsoft stores now. Something that really is an anchor in town. So I want to facilitate any entity that comes in that could really help everybody downtown. I think there's a new vibe starting with the Executive Center coming into town. We toured that last week, which was a fine job. We've
got McKinsey and a couple of other businesses in town now at the old Summit Medical Group property, right?
Yeah, I think Mark Yeager's done an excellent job there, and I think we're going to really start to enjoy the benefit of all that traffic coming into town in about a month or two. But I really do want to be vigilant to keep Summit's downtown kind of a unique and exciting vibe to it. I think on the public works end of things, I want to continue to look at opportunities that can make us a leaner, more efficient operation. They're already there. One of the great examples is the brine system that they brought in. That not only helps us manage our storms better, but it's potentially somewhat of a revenue source just through the shared services. And I had mentioned earlier about the compressed natural gas, which we've looked at, and maybe not now, but in the future it might be something not only where our vehicles run cheaper and cleaner, but we can be a fueling station and create revenue for other municipalities should they follow our lead in that. And I'm not committing to that, but that's something that is maybe a long-term vision.
I think that's great. I know I spent 2 hours this weekend marching around the Passaic River with the mayor of Chatham Borough and Rick Mateus from our engineering department and a number of other interested citizens. I mean, I see the potential for us using that river a lot more, having a boat launch. We saw a very large fish come over a dam, but it's a question of just getting the manpower to have walking trails and maybe a deck, some de-snagging, and we could do a lot more with our transfer station also, I think. Possibly have a permanent building where we can exchange goods. All things that the Environmental Commission is looking at currently. But any last words? We have about 30 seconds left. I think I want to thank you all for coming on. Maybe we can do this again in another 6 months, see how your first year, what you accomplished. And,
see if my hair gets any whiter or Mr. Hurley's gets any less.
Well, I watched Cindy Martin in her years, and it's going to happen to me too.
Not at all, Mayor.
Thank you all very much for coming. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.